I really hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more fantastic music content just like this. Welcome to the Need to Know Music Show with me, Ronan McManus, here on Switchbox TV. And today I'm joined by an ever-changing and evolving artist who I would have needed months to fully get a grasp of. I feel my journey of discovery has just begun. So to shed some more light on Ron Gallo as the best man for the job, Ron Gallo, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm alive. Nice introduction.
It's nice. It's nice to set that bar nice and low. Just achievable goals alive. That's what
Yeah.
2020's reduced us to.
Well, yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, before this, I probably should have just been more grateful for waking up every day. So I don't know why it took this to get there, but hey.
Yeah,
So
we'll just it's yeah, we'll take it. We'll just start now. Start now. But it's good. So yeah, just as I was saying there, like you seem to have changed your sort of sound and thing. And, every album is different and everything. And I just found it's like I would have needed months to try to fully get a full overview of everything that you've done, and
yeah.
I never know where you're going to go next. So what's it? so so let's just start with this year, because you've been doing you've been releasing a lot of singles this year. They've kind of been doing that waterfalling thing, which is like every time you add a single, it adds onto the same list. So you kind of got an EP going now. Is
Yeah.
that, you got plans? Is that going to keep going, or is that kind of done?
It's gonna keep going. And then it's eventually gonna become an album that's gonna be out March 5th of 2021.
Great.
And yeah, I figured, this year, I might as well experiment with putting out music because kind of like you said, it's a completely different world musically. So I figured like gradually roll that stuff out, show that stuff to people. So
So
yeah.
it seems to be using like drum loops and stuff. Is that you sort of, or is that kind of seems to be different? Because each of your albums, you've gone from sort of doing kind of indie rock stuff to kind of punk stuff to kind of different punky sort of, new wavy sort of stuff to this. Does that sound something that you had chosen beforehand, or is it a consequence of 2020 restrictions and home recordings and that kind of thing?
It's kind of a result of, my headspace over the last couple of years. I mean, I last summer, June 2019, basically a 3-year straight tour had ended. And yeah, I was just completely burnt out, kind of on myself, on all the music that I was making. I didn't really know what I was about anymore. And so that kind of sent me into this place that I've been in the last, I guess, year and a half now, where I'm just kind of starting from scratch about like, what do I really like? What am I into now? What do I want to make? And also just trying to remove any kind of limitation that I put on myself, because I've always subscribed to, especially with the first couple of records, you know, live band in the studio, like you said, kind of like moving in that realm of like garage and punk, new wave influences, early rock and roll influences. And yeah, I kind of had myself in a little bit of a box. And so when I went to make this new music, it really wasn't the intention of making a record. It was more of a period of self-discovery. And I'm like, let's just make music every day and not have to have it be anything that has to do with what I've done before. And don't be afraid of melody. Don't be afraid of making things that actually like have some sense of joy to them. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid of electronics or drum machines or any of the stuff. And that's kind of where it came from, is just experimenting and being like, yeah, I like that. I don't really care if it fits into the, preconceived notion of me from the previous stuff. So
If
yeah.
you could, if you could go back and tell the fella that was standing on the back of that flatbed truck in the middle of Nashville, that he'd be releasing songs with drum loops and kind of, I mean, so it's a lot of it's sort of happy, sort of funky songs. I mean, Please Don't Die is a little bit less funky and happy, but it's, but I mean, what would that guy have thought? Would he have kind of been into it? Is always your view to kind of innovate and change, or do you think that that guy stood there playing playing "Please Yourself" was a kind of had a sort of was stuck in. What would you say he would think of it?
I think that guy would have been extremely judgmental and kind of closed-minded and written the whole thing off. Like, fuck that shit, man. You know, I'm a purist. It needs to be a band in a room, live energy, real instrumentation. I think back then I was sort of this mindset of, I wanted to stir shit up. I wanted to kind of antagonize the audience. And I kind of wanted, in a weird way, to sort of revive this idea of like rock and roll that I had. And when I think of it, I'm thinking about like the Stooges, late 70s New York punk. Like, to me, that's like the real deal shit. And I think that was where my attitude was at the time. And part of that was not really being open to new music or modern music at all. And I think like the full circle thing about that, if I was sort of looking to the origins of punk at that time and subscribing to that sort of mindset, I think the thing that's more that than anything is just being yourself. And so I'm a completely different person than I was back then. I think my worldview has changed. I think my goals have changed. My mission statement or whatever. So I think in a weird way they full circle connect, because I think something about scrapping everything that I've done and taking a leap of faith to kind of make what I want to make is probably more in tune with the message that I was in the flatbed truck. Anyways, like, do whatever the fuck you want. And that's kind of the point. So
Yeah, well, I think having putting those restraints on yourself when you're maybe younger and still developing is kind of a good thing, because you could just kind of get lost if you just kind of give yourself no parameters. To have that live band mentality, that aim to sound like Iggy or whatever, that sort of whatever you had in your mind. I think
yeah,
that's important parts of the development.
I completely agree. I've always worked well with parameters, and it does help too, because I was very like tunnel vision. Like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I think it helped make that first record work because everything around it was just, I knew what to do. I felt like, and it was genuine. It was really genuine. And but yeah, I mean, I constantly am changing as a person, and I'm just not one of those people that's going to keep making the same record for my whole life. I mean, I'll like kill myself, over doing that. It's, life is about change. So I'm like, just embrace all of it as it goes and keep it genuine, whatever it is. I'm like from one day to the next, let alone, 3, 4, 5, 6 years later from writing some of those songs. So it feels
Even
genuine to me. But
but even you talk about the parameters, you still moved, still had quite wide boundaries within those parameters. It wasn't like you did one thing and you still kind of, even within that live band thing, you still took the concept of, like, especially with Really Nice Guys. I love that concept of that album, and
thank
the humor in it and the truth in it, and all the stuff about, the struggles of being in a band up and coming, and all the bullshit that comes with that. And there's a
yeah,
lot of bullshit that come with
I
with
think
that.
that's what it is. It's always the parameter being whatever is genuine in a given moment. So I think that parameter is like always changing, but I always like to have for Really Nice Guys, for example, when making that record, uh, the only genuine thing in my life was to talk about my experience being nonstop on the road for a year and a half. I didn't really have anything else to say, so in that way, it like helps guide it, in that sense.
So I mean that, and also actually just to go back to the Please Yourself street performance thing, it helped that it was a short, snappy song because the cops didn't get a chance to get to you. You were in and out.
By design, I think it's the only one that would have worked.
You can see them just waiting at the lights with the lights on, and you just speed away. What was it like doing that day? That was just looked like such a blast.
It was amazing. The idea, the director Joshua Shoemaker, he had that idea for years, and he could never find a band that was down to do it. And I had just moved to town basically, and like I said, I was just kind of in that mindset. I just wanted to kind of stir shit up, and make noise. And so, as soon as he told me, I was like, "Yeah, just when are we doing it? Let's do it. I'm down. I don't need to know anything else. Count me in." And so then he got to work planning every facet of it, the whole rig on the truck. He went downtown. He timed the traffic lights. He mapped the whole thing. And so the day came to actually do it. it was surreal because we knew that we had one chance. You know, if you there was a bad cable or you miss a chord or you fuck something up, there's a million things that could have gone wrong. And so when
Yeah.
we started rolling, I was so conscious of the fact that this is the only chance we have, which didn't help with, being present for it, but it was a blur. It was like we
No, but
started.
you're on it. You're there and you're doing your thing, and it's the band sounds great, and it's just capturing the just people are just mesmerized by it, and it works, completely works.
It was magic. There was like some higher power in play there because everything worked perfectly. Even with the cops, the timing of it, he pulled us
Yeah.
over at the end. We captured the footage. Super nice guy. He let us go. No big deal. But yeah, I feel like it couldn't have gone better. I feel like we were just kind of gifted that in a way. So it's
I did a
awesome.
similar thing on the back of a truck in Sao Paulo. Me and my brother Rory, we did
Yeah.
a little tour over there during the World Cup and was over there, and we played on the back of this VW flatbed in front of a pasta shop, kind of cool, funky sort of place that did all like you could teach you how to make pasta and stuff. Anyway, it was a cool little
Yeah.
place, and we did it there. And our backs were literally to there was a set of lights behind us, and a bus pulled up, and the bus driver opened the doors to allow the passengers to hear the music. And then you actually hear on the thing two cars nearly crash because we're right on the crossroads. It is like sort of thing. So that was kind of yeah, but that was a I've always wanted to do something like that. We talked about doing something like that on a river, on a boat, and all that kind of stuff. But that's just, yeah, it was fantastic. So if anybody hasn't seen that, you got to Google or get onto YouTube and get onto Ron Gallo, Please Yourself, and you can check that out. And there's the bit you're walking at the start, you're reciting, um, you're doing a bit of spoken word at the start.
Yeah, it was a couple of verses from another song on the first record, All the Punks Are Domesticated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I like that. Is that something you do, a bit of spoken word, or is anything is that something you've done? I don't
Man,
know
I
because
don't
I
know
know
what I
they sort of you were described as a poet in the early days. I mean, is that something you actually did spoken word stuff?
never. And if anything, I've always had a weird feeling about it, slam poetry and like, going to open mics. And so I've never done stuff like that. I've always contained it into music, I guess. But who knows? I mean, yeah, I think with this new music, I mean, there's elements of spoken word and kind of like fast talking shit going on. So I don't know what I'll do, but
Is I've
never.
interviewed a couple of people, Mary Lambert being one of them, who does a bit of spoken word stuff in her stuff, and she was sort of saying you can kind of address subjects in a way that you can't music sort of it when you're singing something. It's almost you got to be a little bit more around the houses with it, whereas spoken word can be you can be more direct with things. So I think they're probably two different things, but that those lyrics worked as spoken word really well. That is an example of one that did work, but I can see how they wouldn't all work.
Yeah, I think I try to think about writing words, to be read in a way. And
Right.
sometimes I get lucky and they actually fit to music. But yeah, there's definitely something there to the spoken part of it because there's a lot more that you can kind of do with more conviction. And I think I've experimented with that a little bit on the new stuff, especially with Easter Island, which is sort of a fast talked spoken kind of thing over some like jazz piano and some weird beats and stuff. That was kind of a recent example of trying to do that where I had the words on a piece of paper and I had the music all done and I pressed record and like what you hear is the first pass of just me trying to fit the words over the music. So
Oh,
com-
brilliant.
of speaking and singing sort of. Yeah, I don't
Great.
know. Yeah.
You do a bit more of that. I think it's just like he's obviously kind of exploring something a bit different, and it's kind of raw and natural. And I think that's one of the things that I think this idea of because my band we had an album ready to go for this year. We
Mhm.
decided to release them in like 6 week gaps or
Yeah.
whatever it was, um, because you couldn't. There's no point in releasing a whole album of work to be consumed in one go. Then you can't tour it. There's no point. So we did it all separate things and did a similar sort of thing to what you're doing. And I think that idea of actually, if you've got a home studio, that idea of actually just capturing something and then releasing it now and it being a snapshot of now is something that's really interesting to me. Um, And I mean, all the songs that you've released this year, they were created this year. Is that right?
Most of them I actually wrote last summer.
Okay.
We finished tour, and
Oh yeah, you were saying about the yeah.
yeah, and we finished tour in Italy actually, and I was going to stay with Kiara, who was living there at the time. I mean, she's in the other room now. She lives here. And we're married and together, and we've been together every day for the last 9 months in our house. Um, but
You're getting
so
about you're getting about kind of sort of the first 10 years of marriage out over in sort of that amount of contact in 9 months.
oh, yes, it's seriously at a rapid pace. It's kind of a beautiful thing in a way. It's painful, but um, no, it's good. But after that tour had ended, I had planned on staying over there, and then we kind of ran into some issues with visas and my time spent in Europe, and so I ended up actually getting sent back for the summer. And so it was sort of 3 months of me in this chair in this room that we're in right now, and that's when most of the songs are written. I was kind of self-isolating. I was far from her. I wasn't really talking to many people. It felt a lot like this year, actually, but a year
Yeah,
before the pandemic. And yeah, and I kind of went back and forth. I worked in a studio over there, and then I finished everything in the beginning of sort of the pandemic quarantine period back in March. So sort of a full circle. Started in this room, ended in this room. Similar circumstances. Yeah, yeah,
great. Yeah, because I think that kind of idea of stuff that's been created this year was going to be very wide ranging, uh, a lot of different types of work being released next year is going to be really interesting artistically speaking, because everyone's had a bit of time to stop, think, get excited,
mhm,
then lose all enthusiasm for it, and then kind of go back round. It seems everyone's kind of done that sort of like this
yeah.
excitement of wow, I've got all this time. I can't go on the road. I'm just doing this. Then it's this sort of like, oh shit, it's really serious. People are dying, and it's kind of like, and this is actually tougher living in lockdown than I thought. And then kind of everyone sort of then rallying round again. Seems to be that kind of seems to be the kind of the way that it's happened, and people have reacted, innovated in different ways. Um, so have you done anything sort of live in that way? I know people doing live streams and that kind of thing during this year. There's been some live things you've been doing, isn't there?
Yeah, we actually did probably one of the first live streams before people were really live streaming regularly, and it was kind of out of an accident. Um, we had a festival that we were supposed to play back in March 13th, and I flew in a drummer from Philly. We put together a new band, bunch of new songs. It was really exciting. And then 24 hours before the festival, it got canceled, and he was in town for the whole week. And we're like, well, we don't want to waste it. So I kind of got the idea. I was like, okay, well, the festival's canceled. I'm gonna get whatever gear we need, and let's try to do a live stream from our house. So we ended up doing two on March 14th and 15th. And like I said, this was kind of before it was the norm. It was an experiment, and they were crazy successful because I think people were not jaded or burnt out on them. So like we got a shitload of donations and thousands of people tuned in, and it was like this really exciting thing. And I tried to kind of maintain that for a few months. I started a digital festival called Really Nice Fest,
Yeah,
and it ran for 9, 10 weeks and all different kinds of formats. It was like comedy, conversations. I did a jazz DJ set, played live, karaoke, all kinds of shit. And over the course of that, it just kind of fizzled out. I think people
yeah,
just got bored of it, which I get. And since then, I try to do things that are a little bit more um quote unquote legitimate, like less just me, playing in the room like I did in the beginning, but we'll go to a studio space or we'll, work with somebody. We did a rooftop show a couple of weeks ago downtown, and yeah, it's tough. I think people are kind of over that brief little golden era of live streaming, but
yeah. I sort of did like here, um, because I do Irish music as well, and the St Patrick's Week was the week that everything started to shut
yeah,
down. They hadn't
yeah.
actually shut down properly until the weekend after St Patrick's Day,
Mm.
but there was a kind of the government sort of said we're not shutting pubs down, but just don't go to them if you don't have to. And it kind of like killed that week. So the two pubs that I was playing in closed the doors. So I went live on Paddy's Day, just kind of literally just decided last minute to do it. Just went live to my phone, no real thought in it, and there was just hundreds of people there, and I made more money than
Right.
I've ever made. And again, I was like, "This is brilliant! I don't have to leave my house, and I can make loads of money." And then it was like, cut to 4 or 5 gigs down the line, it was like, this is people are losing the enthusiasm for it. But not only just that, a lot of people doing it, but what I think it was is that what I think it was is that they just it doesn't tick that box, that live thing
Of
doesn't
course.
quite do it. And I think people got to the point where I think it also coincided with the pandemic, the realities of that kicking in,
Of
as
course.
in it was this was going to be longer than we thought.
Yeah.
People are actually dying here. This at first it felt like everyone's just got a holiday from work, and then it got I think shit hit the sort of shit got serious. So, um, but I think it doesn't quite tick that box because it's basically you're doing a gig, and even if there's a 500 people watching, it's 500 gigs for one.
Yeah.
There's no sort of shared experience in the same way that you are at a gig. You've got a live chat, but and then you sort of find that people are talking to each other, and you're like, "Hi, I'm over here. I'm singing."
Right, right, right.
But it's kind of I don't know. It was just got a bit of a weird dynamic in terms of it filling that space that a live gig does.
Yeah, it's a sad alternative. And I think you're right. There was that kind of that brief period where everyone have realized it was a real thing, but also didn't think it was going to be that long. So we're like, well, let's embrace adaptation. Let's, and artists were like, holy shit, I can make money from my living room. Why do I kill myself on tour 365 days a year? So there, and that's where, but yeah, I mean, and then I think reality just kind of set in. We're like, yeah, we're going to be doing this for way longer than we expected. And all of the kind of value of that live experience is, yeah, it's not even remotely close. It's weird. I mean, you're sitting in a room, playing into an abyss,
Yeah.
playing into a small camera. And it's, yeah, it's sad. It's sad. It's just like,
But I
sad.
actually I got to the point where I would start to think, hang on, people haven't got live gigs to they've got the option of these live streams that aren't ticking that box, and they seem to just be opting to not have live music at all. Like, are we the most irrelevant thing? And then then I sort of felt like, am I pushing myself onto people who just don't want it? Is it inappropriate to be singing when people are dying? And all this kind of thing went through my mind thinking, shit, is music just realized it's just not necessary? And then I think it kind of, I had that moment and I thought, shit, this is done. We're done. No, people don't need music anymore.
Man, amen to that. I mean, that existential crisis, for me, it's like every other day, but I've definitely gone through that as well. Same time, this time has also been oddly empowering, where I feel like a lot of the like fundamental flaws and issues with the music industry and the way that things work are really pretty fucked up. And this time, kind of removing touring, everyone's focused for a second. Uh, the veil's kind of been lifted because every artist in the world um, is having that existential crisis right now. And that's kind of odd because that just proves that our actual music itself like holds no inherent value. And I think that's really fucked up. Meanwhile, Spotify, Amazon, all these tech companies that thrive off of artists and artist creations, they're not worried. So definitely what you said, I've freaked out about, what the fuck am I even doing? Why should anybody give a shit about this? But at the same time, I feel like I've got myself internally to a point where I don't think anyone can ever take advantage of me the way that was so normal in the past with being a musician, because it's everywhere. Everybody wants like freebies or take advantage or like nickel and dime you here and there, and things are completely imbalanced. So yeah, as much as it's been hard, I feel like there's a lot of that empowerment shit too, because if you don't value yourself, no one, we're not standing on solid ground. So like during this time, we've had to figure it out with live streams, with getting creative, with how to create shit. Nobody's helping us with that. It's completely on us. So I feel like that attitude we should all hang on to when the world resumes a sense of normalcy, whatever that might be, because I think that's something we kind of needed to see, because we are valuable. Art and music is essential. It's just been structured to not be. And then we start to convince ourselves that that's how it is, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Oh, I agree
The
that.
world would be disastrous without it.
Well, that's the next step on from where I was, is the realization, well, actually, no, because the screen that we have, people's phones, laptops, whatever it is, we just need to learn to embrace that better and be add. It's not might not be a live stream from my sofa with my kids' pictures behind me. Maybe that's not interesting to people. So what we can do to create more interesting visuals to go with the music, and it's like, and releasing single songs to give every one of those songs its own little time in the sun,
Right.
and being more regular with that,
Yeah.
and being more creative artistically with the visuals and that kind of thing. Maybe that's actually, rather than just thinking no one needs music. No, that's not true. They just maybe need to present it in a different way, because I mean, you're right about the exposing the music business, saying as soon as you take away the only form of income that we have, which is live, then the veil's lifted from that. Everything else is completely being corrupted and being taken away from us, as you say. But yeah, maybe then the thing was, okay, but what do I do then to connect to an audience? How do I find my audience? So, I mean, with that in mind, what sort of looking into next year do you? I mean, it seems that you constantly shift and move and change, and you have a different idea. I'll be really interested to see what cogs are turning in your head.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought a lot. I've thought too much over this last year about everything, but the vision I have for next year is, I mean, I pushed the record back to March. It was going to come out in October, kind of what you said. There's no rush. Wait until it's either closer to a time when you'll be able to go and play for people. But my hope is that by the spring, we're able to at least adapt enough where we can do safe outdoor shows, some semblance of touring. It's not going to be conventional, but I've thought about the idea of remote touring, like getting a generator and a sponsorship and going and setting up in record store lots, or finding some way to get out and play for people, but also kind of for myself too. And so we're gonna book a normal tour, European, US. We're gonna try, kind of with the idea that maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. But I'm trying to think about like things that we can control in the meantime. But yeah, as far as other stuff, I mean, I'm working on a remix project right now for the record, which is something I never would have thought of before. But I'm super excited about it because I'm kind of collaborating with people that I've always wanted to, and maybe they wouldn't have been available before. So now it's like I've got artists that I love and respect that are going to be working on new mixes for songs. I'm like, this is kind of a beautiful, creative collaboration thing that came from this time that, if we were out grinding on the road, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So
Yeah.
my brain's kind of going that way. And yeah, with the visual stuff, I mean, I even started a clothesline this year, and
Oh
I started
wow.
this website, reallynice.world. I mean, I've started to try to like branch out from, the one thing that I've been doing for 4 years straight, and exercise like all the creative parts of the brain, because, we're not on any kind of solid foundation. So just do it all and try to shift and grow. But who knows? Like you said, I don't know where I'll be in March. I'm sure a million more ideas will come in and go. And
I love the
so,
idea of remixes, because that's something that, because through doing these interviews, I mean, I've basically been doing this since lockdown and doing this, and I'm talking to different people all the time, and I'm loving seeing how different people are innovating, how people are changing, how people are branching out, and I've been speaking to people in different genres of music. So I've been chatting to some DJs and producers, and I spoke to a guy the other week who just he writes like top lines for DJs and stuff, and does remixes and stuff, and it's amazing world, because they're collaborating all the time. It's
yeah.
always collaborations, and it's just completely like you do your bit and it can be anything. And I love that idea that you're putting it out and it's someone else's turn to do something with it or whatever. And I think that's really, really interesting to me.
It's amazing cross pollination too, because you reach their audience, they reach yours. It's like artists kind of come together to share whatever thing they've cultivated with other people, and I don't know, it's just blurring lines, and it's making for really cool shit that may not otherwise have happened. So
Yeah. So maybe that'll be the legacy of 2020, I suppose, will be lots of shit that we didn't think was going to happen has happened. and it's going to be interesting to see.
Just destroying barriers in a weird way. I mean, lifting veils and destroying barriers. That's what this year is about. It's like we've had to face so much reality, so many things that have gotten overlooked and ignored, and it's painful, but it's good. I think it's ultimately like we're all going to come out of this a lot more aware, more creative, hopefully. So, yeah.
And you've got your Christmas single, White Christmas.
Yeah, a little re-release from one I did a couple years ago.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I got like a couple years ago, I got obsessed with the Dean Martin Christmas album, and I just listened to it I listened to it 12 times on repeat. I sat next to a TV fireplace, and then I recorded that cover, and I just kind of shelved it, because it's like, I don't know, it's Christmas cover, whatever. And then I've been really nostalgic this year, and I was like, you know what? I've always loved Christmas time, so I'm gonna reflect back. Let's put the song out. I made the try to evoke some sort of nostalgia comfort. So
What I love about it is that I kind of expected some kind of weird twist on it or something, or some sort of ironic kind of thing to happen lyrically or something. It's just a cover of White Christmas with
it's,
some cool shit going on in the background. In fairness, there's some cool stuff going on instrumentally and nice little counter melodies and stuff going on. But ultimately, it's just a version of White Christmas.
yeah, I love that me doing something in a sincere way is almost more of a surprise than doing something because you're right. You are
Mission
absolutely.
accomplished.
Thank you.
It's-
I love that old crooner stuff. But
yeah.
you're right. My natural tendency is to be like, yeah, if we're gonna do White Christmas, it has to be the opposite of what anyone would expect. But I don't know, just straight nostalgia on that.
Because we had that, every morning as kids, every Christmas morning as kids, we had Perry Como and Dean Martin and all those Christmas albums, and we still sing them with where all the jumps were in the vinyl record. Or like there's there's little ringing happy holidays. Like there's one of the things we all say. I mean, and yeah, I love all that stuff too. I mean, it's just when my wife says, "Oh, let's put some Christmas songs on," she wants to put Mariah Carey, "All I Want for Christmas Is You" a million times, and I just want to put those old songs on because that's just like that's my Christmas as a kid.
They're like a blanket. Those old,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the shit. Yep.
So next year, what's going to be? So you've got the album in March. Have you got some more singles to put out in January, February time before the album hits?
Yeah, we're gonna put out the first remix next week, actually, that was done by a Los Angeles-based sort of bedroom pop artist named Boyo. He did a really cool version of Hide Myself Behind You that we're gonna put out. And then mid-January, we're gonna put out another single, another song called Can We Still Be Friends? That's gonna be on the record March 5th. And then we're gonna slowly roll out these other remixes. We have like an amazing lineup of people that are gonna be doing them. So pretty excited.
And any more backwards songs?
There's one
What?
full. I'll commit to one full backward song on there. Yeah.
what? What was the thinking behind that?
I just thought it was like a beautiful thing backwards because in GarageBand, I just did it one day. I just reversed the track, and it kind of sounded. It reminded me like almost like a Hare Krishna mantra backwards. And I was like, this is beautiful. Like I got chills listening to it. And, it's like this
It didn't say Paul is dead or something backwards as you were playing it.
And it was like the other side of it. It was more of like maybe what George Harrison would have done if he had his the record backwards. But yeah, that's
just backwards. It's backwards. You can hear it say, "Record a crooner album."
Your destiny is to sing be a lounge singer in casino.
Vegas is waiting for you.
That's my ultimate destiny. I know it. It's
true. just be some cocktails and kind of dinner suit. I could see you. I could see that happening.
I know. I feel like I'd be content with that.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I might knuckle down to the piano and be your piano player.
Yo, let's make it happen.
I'll keep you in olives.
Yes.
For your martini.
Steady gig. We'll get free rooms upstairs. It's great.
That's brilliant. Life. I'm called Ronan. You're called Ron. It couldn't be better.
Yes.
The two Rons.
Ron and Ronan. Ronan, yeah, some combo. There's something there. There's
There's
something
got
there.
there's stuff. There's a few creases to iron out, but it's there. It's
The
there.
seed is planted. The
A
seed is
seed is planted, right?
yes.
Well, what's would you say would be the going to do some sort of serious normal journalist style questions now for you, like as if I'm a proper interviewer. um, Highlight of your career so far.
Oh man. Wow, that's a really, really hard question to answer because what's weird about the question is in theory, some of the coolest stuff that I've gotten to do over the last few years was also kind of matched with like not feeling the best I've ever felt. So I felt like I really wasn't fully there for it. Because it's like, you play Coachella, all these festivals, you're playing in Europe, but you're also like exhausted and burnt out and miserable. So it's this weird juxtaposition.
Yeah,
It's not that easy of a question to answer. It's
I'm not here to ask easy questions, Ron.
no, I know. I love the challenge.
My
Man,
first proper question and my first proper sort of interviewer style question, and it's yeah. I should have stuck with the existential crisis stuff.
when I think back on probably the best time over the last few or 4 years in terms of highlights of my quote unquote career, the first thing I really think of is the first time we toured Italy. Um, it was just like an amazing trip. It's a place, that's where my family, my roots are. I'd never been there before. And it was just this incredible week run of shows in the most beautiful country I've ever been in.
Yeah,
Best food I had.
they love
I
their
met,
music there as well, don't they?
yeah, that's the other thing. The crowds were insane. I met Kiara on that first trip, and we've been together ever since. So I
Fantastic.
think the highlight of my career is that week, June 2018, touring Italy, and it was kind of a life-changing thing. It was sort of a weird pinnacle to get to and be like, you know what? I think we're doing all right. I think that it's all good. Everything
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
happened up to this point was worth this. So that's it.
You know, when we toured Italy with my band. We went to Rome a few times and been down
Nice.
to Reggio around that sort of way. It's just absolutely just beautiful, man. It's just like my wife's Italian
Oh, no shit.
background, so yeah,
Where's she
she's
from?
Caserta. She's a little place called Casanova. It's near
Okay.
Napoli.
Oh, nice. Napoli might be my favorite
It's sort
place.
of in the middle of nowhere where her family's from. It's
Nice. Okay.
it's like this. I googled it and it's like she's never been there. It's like a grandparents from there. So she's
Okay.
sort of like but I Google it and it's like there's nothing there. It's just like a proper little Italian place in the middle of nowhere. But strange enough, my friend Paolo from school, one of my best friends from school, I hadn't seen him in like 20 years and I met him and it turns out that his family are from 10 minutes down the road from where my wife's family are from. I didn't never knew that. That's a really strange thing. What about yourself? Whereabouts are your family?
So my dad's side is from Salerno, and my mom's they're Sicilian,
All right.
which I've never been to either. Chiara is originally from Torino, and her family lives in a town called Ravenna now, and that's where we met. Mm.
I could easily go. I could just settle down there. I mean, it's just
Oh,
amazing. Yeah,
it's the best part about all of this is how much having an Italian move to America has put how really terrible our lifestyle and our society is structured in our country because she's like, what is wrong with you? Why do you all act or live? I'm like, wow, yeah, we are really backwards because the lifestyle over there is something to, I think, aspire to. And so
yeah.
she like brought a lot of that into my life. And, it's a lot healthier and I think a lot better. So it's a beautiful place.
They allow themselves the nicer things in life and the finer things in life. They know how to enjoy that, and it's just
Yeah.
that's what I love about Italy. It's just like everyone's. It's okay to be self indulgent sometimes and have nice stuff. It's not
Yeah,
bad thing to have nice stuff. Stop destroying everything. It's nice.
exactly. It's yeah, they embrace beauty and the food. It's just, taking a
Oh
break
man,
halfway through the day and it's not about like constantly killing yourself for money and work. I mean,
amen to that, brother.
yeah, man.
And we're gonna do a fantasy gig lineup time, and it can be alive or dead. It's a bit kind of like this is like tour porn, you know. For we've been without touring all year, so this is kind of you can put together a gig. You're first on, then there's someone on after you, and then there's someone headlining. Who are the other two acts?
Oh shit. Two. Let's go with I'm gonna put Iggy Pop on there.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that's got to happen. And then I'm gonna go with something like, oh, I'm kind of torn between. I think Lauryn Hill.
Wow. Okay, that's going to be some gig.
Me, Lauryn Hill, and Iggy Pop is a good. Wait, can they be dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
Oh shit. Okay, because maybe
That's just opened up a whole can of worms.
maybe it would be like because then I'm thinking about Jeff Buckley too. That would be an
Yeah.
amazing
Oh
thing to be
man.
able to see. But then it'd be
You're not
different.
thinking about the enjoyment of the audience, by the way. You're not worried about whether the
Yeah,
contrast. It's just literally you get to decide whatever you want.
man, that's tough.
The crowd
Two
got to deal
spots,
with it.
two spots is hard to fill.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you have a lot of power there because you can revive somebody from the dead, and it's like you got to think about.
No, they're still dead on stage.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so the court. Okay, that's different. That's helpful. Because then it should be somebody that I haven't seen before.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, how about maybe we do like me and then Mahalia Jackson, gospel singer, in the
Okay.
middle, and then I guess Iggy Pop could close it out. I
Okay.
just
That's good.
first time I saw him, only time I've seen him was like unreal experience. So
There you go.
let's go there. Let's start there.
Fantastic. And we always ask for recommendation on the show. So somebody that you feel people need to know. It can be somebody who's you've been listening to recently, or a friend of yours that you feel people need to know about, or it could be somebody that has influenced you so much over the years that people just need to check out more of their stuff. So you can take it any which way you like.
Okay. A handful that come to mind. Puma Blue, new artist that I really love. Jazzy, beautiful voice, good songs. Um, who else? Caroline Rose, Brittany Howard, Boyo, who are three of the people that I'm going to be doing the collaborations with, who I think are all incredible, and I'm like honored to be working with them. I think those are people that people should know a lot more of. Um, that's a pretty good
That's
start.
good. Yeah, absolutely. And we put the links to their stuff in the description so people can check them out. And
Oh,
obviously
nice.
links to your stuff too. So where is the best place for people to keep up with what you're doing? Is there a social media of choice for you?
I guess if I find myself unhealthily on one most of the time, it's probably Instagram, which is just my name, Ron Gallo, one word, rongallomusic.com. And I also started really nice.world is the web address. And so you could check out the shop there, random stuff that I write, come up with. That's where you can find me.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to see where your brain goes next. And I've only just started my journey of actually into your past albums
Oh,
because I just started. I just had a chance to have a quick sort of overview of them, and I realised, wow, there's so much more to this than I've got time to put into it before this interview. So it's nice for you to shed some light a little bit on some of those things that happened and how they happened and that kind of thing. So it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
yeah.
And all the best for the album next year. We'll be keeping an eye on eye out for the singles there
Cool.
coming out, and the collaborations sound fantastic. So, listen, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you
So,
for
good
having
luck
me.
with it all, and stay safe, stay well, and we'll catch you hopefully sometime next year on the other
Yeah,
side of all this stuff.
please. Let's make it.
And maybe if you come into Europe, if you come into Italy, stop off in London and come and see us.
I can't wait to get back to London. So yes, let's make it happen. That'd be awesome.
Fantastic. Cheers, Ron. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Cheers now. Take care.